I think the world is vast and incomprehensible, in the sense that we don't know what we don't know. Each of us is born into a very narrow set of circumstances and perspective, and if we're lucky, we get to broaden it through others' perspectives. There is so much joy and so much pain out there, and so many ways to feel joy and pain that we've never even thought of and will never experience. And yet, there is something universal about each of our own joys and pains, and beauty in being able to express it and share it, and have ourselves and others feel seen and understood. That's a hard question. It can be so cruel and unpredictable, and the odds are often stacked against those without a lot of resources and privilege. But it can also be full of beauty, laughter, and life changing experiences if you look for it. I think the world is a fascinating place filled with immense possibilities. I love both the adventure and the beauty of exploring new places and cultures, meeting people from all walks of life, and discovering new insights about myself and the world around me. Life is short, and I want to make the most of it by pushing my boundaries, expanding my horizons, and learning as much as I can. Yes and no. I still want to experience as much as I can about the world, and I still want to use that experience to learn as deeply as I can about who I am. I also want to share those experiences and reflections with those I love and care about, which I feel better positioned to do than I have ever been. What has changed is my understanding of how history and context influence so much of what any individual experiences, and how the choices and possibilities that are available to us at any given moment are pretty narrow, even if we have privilege or try hard or get lucky. And that is actually a good foundation for empathy if we can recognize it. My perspective on life has definitely changed over the years. I used to focus more on trivial matters and often found myself becoming overly worried or stressed out. Now, I try to take a step back to appreciate the little moments and be mindful of life's uncertainties. I've also come to understand that every individual has their own unique journey, and no two people follow the same path. Taking time to stay open minded, accepting of change, and embracing my own vulnerability have been critical in allowing me to enjoy life to the fullest. My perspective on life has definitely drastically changed from when I was an adolescent to now. As a teenager, I had a much more idealistic view on life. I would often romanticize and put people on pedestals, and had difficulty seeing the world for what it really was. I also had an incredibly rigid belief system. If something didn't fit within my ideals, I found it difficult to accept. Now, my perspective on life is much more fluid. I am better able to look at things objectively and accept them for what they are. I understand that life is full of ups and downs, and that people don't always live up to my expectations. I have become more accepting and compassionate, and I cherish the small things in life and try to seize every moment as it comes. I'm still scared of losing control, despite having done so much work to not need control as much as I used to. Ultimately, it's fear that I will get myself hurt or will hurt others, despite my intentions and efforts otherwise. I'm also scared of following my desires, particularly when other people are involved, because I want to create depth and longevity in my relationships and don't want to keep losing people. I'm scared of not living up to my own expectations or the expectations of those around me. I'm also scared of missing out on opportunities and life experiences and of not having enough time to do it all. I'm scared of losing important connections in my life or making the wrong decisions that could have a lasting impact. Finally, I am sometimes scared of the unknown and the future, and I worry about the uncertainty of life. What scares me is the idea of being forgotten or overlooked or not leaving a lasting impact. I fear that all my hard work and self improvement may be overlooked or forgotten. I also fear making mistakes because I am afraid of how it will reflect on me and what judgments people will make. I worry that I may not always have people who are there for me and who appreciate me. Ultimately, what really scares me is the unknown and losing control, which can be overwhelming sometimes. Hindsight being 2020, it's very tempting to want to avoid various mistakes and instances where I contributed to my own suffering. However, I try to remember that everything in the past made me who I am today, and that makes me not want to change anything about the past. And I am always reflecting on and processing the past and trying to see what I can or want to do differently going forward. It's really important to me not to continuously repeat patterns of behavior because I see it as a way of honoring the mistakes and pain that came before and use it to be different or better. It's also a way of being honest with myself, not blinded, and be intentional in how I want to be going forward. If I could do things differently, there are a few things I would change. I would have been more patient and kinder to myself in my younger years, and not be so hard on myself for my mistakes. I would also make sure to take time to relax and enjoy moments rather than pushing myself too hard trying to achieve something. I would also take more risks and be less afraid of exploring new opportunities and experiences. I would like to change the way I handle stress and difficult emotions. When I was a teenager, I used to focus all my energy on trying not to feel my feelings. So instead of dealing with things, I just attempted to numb them out. If I could do things differently, I would be better at accepting and allowing my feelings, no matter how uncomfortable they might be, in order to process them and move forward. All the ones I can think of are coping mechanisms that served me well until they didn't. Things like hyperindependence, perfectionism, sense of urgency. Looking back, I can tell that they gave me a sense of self worth and made up for the fact that I wasn't supported by connections to others, or those habits had prevented me from recognizing connections were there. I also think about the bad relational habits I had inherited or repeated, which was a reflection of not having emotional skills. Habits that help me maintain a sense of control, such as going silent or walking away or pretending that somebody didn't matter to me precisely because they did. I'm really glad that as an adult, I was able to observe people who had emotional skills, such as voicing needs, upholding boundaries, and resolving conflict, and could start to build those skills for myself. Some of the bad habits I finally grew out of were overthinking, worrying too much about others, procrastinating, and trying to be perfect all the time. I learned to give myself grace, be more patient, and understand that mistakes are normal and part of being human. I also became much more comfortable with being open and vulnerable with people and expressing my true feelings and opinions. I think I finally grew out of the habit of being too judgmental. Growing up, I was so convinced I knew much more than the people around me that I was constantly looking to prove my superiority. I think over time, I learned empathy and realized how unproductive and alienating that kind of behavior can be. I also think it's been helpful for me to become more mindful of what I'm saying and how my words come across to other people, since I used to be so quick to make snarky comments. What is most important is becoming a whole human that thinks and feels and loves deeply, that has other humans around that share similar values and are unfolding in their own ways. I hope that we are each growing, and I hope that we can grow together. The most important thing to me is knowing that my life is worthwhile and meaningful. I want to make a lasting impact on the world in whatever way I can, and I want to build meaningful connections with people around me. I want to be a source of positivity and of strength, and I want to be surrounded by people who believe in and support me. I want to ensure that everyone's needs are being met and that I am not just living for myself. I want to have an impact on the lives of others. Ultimately, I want to find love and inner peace so I can truly enjoy all aspects of life. The most important thing to me is having a sense of purpose in life. I want to be able to look back on my life and feel proud that I made a positive difference in some way. To me, this involves continuing to learn and grow, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, and using my gifts and talents for the benefit of others. It also means striving to create meaningful relationships with those around me and striving to make each day count. It's about focusing on what really matters and not getting lost in the small things.
I envision a version of me that can be accepting of anything life throws my way, a version that can breathe through it all and be vulnerable and ask for help whenever needed, a version that is gentler and more expansive, with room for my own complex and conflicting emotions and others' emotions too, that manages to love those around me no matter what.
I envision my grown up version to be confident, resilient, and passionate about life. I hope that I will be able to connect with people through meaningful conversations and use my experiences to help others. I want to make sure I always have a sense of purpose and direction in life and strive to live with intention. Above all, I hope to be content with myself and trust the journey ahead. My adult self will be someone who lives in the present moment and is attuned to her true feelings and inner truth. I want to be vibrant, passionate, and have a zest for life. I want to be open and accepting of others without feeling the need to change or fix them. I envision myself as being generous with my time and attentive to those around me, and living life with compassion, kindness, and grace. Dear Present Joe, as I sit here, writing to you in my cozy 18 to 21-year-old world, I am proud of who you have become. You are bold, brave, and most importantly, resilient. You have come through struggles and hardship with your self-love and empathy still intact. You have made mistakes and bad choices, but those do not define you. I want you to know that it gets better. Your loneliness doesn't have to be incurable. Your relationship with yourself and others will get stronger. You will find someone who will listen, and will care, that you can talk to and share your deepest thoughts, worries, joys, and fears with. Live with your heart open, and you will be amazed by what comes your way. Keep dreaming, keep loving, keep growing. Love, Young Adult Joe. Dear Joe, I am writing to you from 14 to 17-year-old me. I can assure you that you have grown and evolved in beautiful ways throughout the years. You are resilient, strong, creative, and intelligent. There is so much I want to tell you. Life isn't always easy, but it is often worth it. There will be people who disappoint you and let you down, but there will also be those who surprise you with their kindness and understanding. In tough times, don't forget to take care of yourself. You will face difficult decisions, but trust your intuition. Live life more recklessly and follow the dreams that make you want to leap out of bed in the mornings. Even when it seems impossible, the strongest love can be found in yourself. Love, Adolescent Joe.